I'm out here on a walk before I get some work done today, and one thing I find very helpful to do and helps me become more into the moment, more relaxed, and enjoy it more is just to look around when you come to someplace really beautiful, like get the water down there, the river. And I just recommend find the wealthiest area you can and go for walks in it a lot because it's very beautiful there. But when I come to areas like this, when I have geese, where are they? You can really see them. Can you see them? There we go, geese flying up above, is just to remind myself this is life at its fullest. Just being here, enjoy it. And so much, like when I was studying, way overstudying for my classes, when I was killing myself working too hard, every time I overwork and get burnt out, I have this idea of like, I'm working so that I can be happy, I'm working so that I can have a better life, I'm working so that I can make more money. And while all those things are necessarily true, what's the end goal of all those things? The end goal is, well, I want to be happy. And part of why I do this and why I come down and go for walks before I start my work this morning, I mean, look how beautiful that is to remind myself that I can be happy now. Like, I can literally be happy now. So I'm not working to necessarily be happy. Working because I enjoy trying to build something, push myself, and it helps give you a more balanced sense of work, which I find actually lasts longer. Because otherwise, and I know this for many people, because the adults I talk to, who have worked themselves to death, and they're now in their 50s when they would hopefully be enjoying the fruits of their labor, and they have heart disease and cancer, and they may have already died from a heart attack or two, and their health is absolute crap, and their knees don't function, they have herniated discs. And I'm just looking at them like, you always worked based on the idea that one day you'd be able to just enjoy life. And now that they're reaching the ages that they're gonna retire, I see people who don't actually want to retire, but are starting to realize that their job is killing them. And that they're gonna die pretty soon unless they find a more sustainable way. And they think, oh, well, what if I retire? I'm like, first off, that's stupid. I mean, with the skills you've built up, you have the greatest earning potential right now and the greatest negotiating potential right now. So instead of necessarily retiring, and like, if you did retire, what would you do? I mean, a lot of these people, they love their work. And it's like, you're gonna retire and like sit on the couch or like watch TV or like do what with your time? Like, you really enjoy problem solving, you really enjoy all this stuff. And my recommendation to them is just make it sustainable. Work 2 days from home. I mean, hell, work 3 days a week. Like, you have the most negotiating power with whatever company you're at right now. And you don't need, like, if you retire, you have no money coming in, or at least a lot less money coming in. If you work 3 days a week, then you have some money coming in, and you get to more pick and choose the parts of your work that you get to do. So why toss the baby out with the bathwater if you just cut back a little bit and you would have the time to relax, you'd have the time to do stuff sustainably. But anyways, that's a little off topic for what we're going here. So I just remind myself, like, this is, like, life doesn't get much better than this. And what do people work for? People work to be able to come out in nature and enjoy time like this. And look at all the beautiful trees, smell the clean air. And I just got back from Asia, and there's no clean air over there, man. Unless you go extremely high elevation, there's not a lot of clean air. And you get people poisoning themselves due to how dysfunctional the society is. And someone down there, and just to put in perspective, this is a metaphor that would work for all of a lot of Asian society, but especially like Bangladesh, the country I was in for a while, they, in order to get ahead, if you have two cars on the road, one car will literally stick its nose into the other lane because it thinks that lane's moving a little bit faster, block up both lanes behind them until it gets to merge into that lane. And you have not just one driver doing this, you have literally every single driver doing this. So the result is there's no actual lines on the road that people follow. Instead, you just have like cars moving in to whatever empty space they can possibly find. And all the cars down there have metal bumpers on them because how often they hit things. And the result is you have traffic moving slower, but you also have these buses from the 80s and 90s and probably the 70s, like just polluting with literally clouds of smoke every time they step on the accelerator. And all of these cars are just constantly running in basic non-stop gridlock on the streets, killing everybody due to the air pollution that they're producing. So you have a society where everyone's trying to get ahead, following no necessarily orderly path, and in doing so, they wind up poisoning themselves and making everything worse. And I think that's a perfect metaphor for basically all of Bangladesh. Granted, the people there, some of them are very kind. I mean, my friend's parents were amazing hosts, and I loved my time there. But someone called the society organized chaos, and I corrected them. I told them, no, this is barely functional chaos. It's barely functional, where people are literally killing each other through, I mean, not directly, but through air pollution, just in order to try to get ahead. And when you stand in line over there, you'll have 10 people try to cut you, like just blatantly try to cut and force their way in front of you, and you just have to be like, get the fuck back there. Like, no, like, you are behind me, I'm not letting you through. And I mean, there's a language barrier, so you have to kind of like body them out of the way and be like, get back to your place in line. And they'll blatantly do this, and it just makes you actually appreciate the functionality of having a line in the US. Like, the simple act of standing in line, I'm there looking at it the same way. I'll be like, well, thank God we have lines, because a line is a very orderly way to get something done, because it's very difficult when people are constantly cutting it, moving forward, jostling, and you wind up with a lot of wasted time and wasted effort. But anyways, back to why I even made the video. Just standing here looking at that view. It's reminding myself that this is as good as life gets in this moment. I mean, there are other things, winning wrestling championships, winning tournaments, having families, hanging out with friends. But for right now, for this exact moment right now, standing here, I could not think of a way I could improve this moment. And that comes in part to freeing myself from addictions such as just smoking. Because if I was still addicted to nicotine or weed, or I don't know, listening to stuff on my phone, watching TV, then I'd always have something in the back of my head being like, oh, I mean, this is perfect, but like, what if I had a cigarette right now? What if I had a joint right now? Like, it removes your ability to be happy without external factors. And that's the reason I quit smoking, because I hated that. It's like this weight, this shadow over your mind that you know you'll never be satisfied without your vape or your cigarette. And that misplaced idea that you'll never be satisfied is the addiction itself. It's not the cause of the addiction. That is the addiction, is having this misplaced idea that you need this thing in order to be satisfied, which always keeps you coming back to it. But reminding myself that, like, this is as good as life gets, at least for nature, and being, it helps me bring myself into the present moment. Because I might have thoughts going through my head. I have a lot of thoughts going through my head. And just saying that, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is as good as it can get. Like, and look how beautiful the trees are. Look at the gentle hues of the clouds, the birds chirping, the little chipmunks chasing each other, the poison ivy on that tree over there, and how pretty it is. It's like, yeah, I do see how beautiful this is, and like, it brings you into the moment because it helps you focus, even if it's not necessarily true, even if there's other things that you think are better. Just telling yourself this is as good as life gets, enjoy it, helps you to focus. And then once you get into the present moment, once you start like finding things that you enjoy, you're no longer comparing this to other points in time in your head. You're not like, oh, well, last week when I was at this other point, the sky was a little bit bluer and the smell of the flowers were a little bit like fresher. It's like, no. Once you start appreciating things, you're like, oh, look how pretty that is. Look how pretty that is. Oh, and you start breathing everything in and trying to absorb as much of it. Once you become present, you're no longer up in your head comparing everything, which in itself helps make where you are one of the most enjoyable things, because a lot of what we do is trying to reach those states of peacefulness and of awe and beauty that we can get by just moving into the present moment. It's why I go on my walks in nature. It's why, and look at the trees right there. And you might be yelling at that, it's just trees. I'm looking at that, I'm like, that is so beautiful. And I mean, that's why I come out here, that's why I go on walks, in order to remind myself of this. And I don't find it dulls the amount of work. I find it helps give me perspective and helps me be happy while I do my work, which, if nothing else, actually recharges me and stops me from getting burned out. And yeah, because you have to divorce yourself from the idea that hard work is what will help you succeed in life. Hard work is not what will help you succeed in life at all. I mean, it's a little part of it, but a lot of what will help you succeed in life is thinking and then working hard at the right thing. But you need that time, you need perspective in order to think, in order to reflect. Because trust me, the people I saw in Bangladesh working, hell man, like go watch some videos on YouTube of the factories over in India. Those people work harder than you, me, or anyone else I've seen in the US, but they're making next to nothing and living in horrible conditions, versus you can live in the US, do not a lot of work comparatively, and have a lot more for yourself. But you're like, why is that? I mean, part of it is due to where you live. That's why a lot of people try to come to the US. But the idea that hard work necessarily is what gets you forward or moves you forward is incorrect, because a machine will always be able to outwork you. An AI can do more, Excel formatting or something stupid like that. A car can go faster than you can bike. So it's not necessarily hard work, but it's looking at the bigger picture and using your brain. I mean, out of all the species on Earth, we have the biggest brains. We have the most capacity for thought and creativity. And you have to be able to use that capacity if you want to improve your life or move forward. Once you find something, yes, hard work does play a role, but hard work divorced of anything else will put you in the grave early before you have the chance to enjoy any of the fruits of your labor. So gain perspective, read a lot of good books. My brother always says there's three ways to gain wisdom. One is to travel to a lot of places. The other is to read a lot of books. And the third is to talk to a lot of people. I recommend doing all three, but if you don't want to talk to a lot of people, you can certainly read a lot of books and have them open your mind. And I mean, granted, reading is reading, so if you read anything, you'll pretty much open your mind a little bit, but the classics. I like looking at how history was, how it's changed, where we were. Even reading like Sherlock Holmes and seeing how British society differed from our society today, where people had guard dogs in order to protect their houses, and people walked around with like walking sticks, which was also just self-defense. And the class system within European society, understanding why people came to the U.S., the despotism that they're escaping. And a lot of this stuff you don't ever get taught in schools. Instead, you have to memorize stupid stuff like how Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin. It's like, how the hell is that going to help you? Like, they don't teach you the patterns or how you can understand almost all of, not all, but a very large amount of society by just looking through the lens of how people fall into like very similar motives. And one of those large motives is just, how do people craft systems in such a way that they can ensure their kids will, well, how do wealthy people craft systems in such a way to ensure their kids will also be wealthy regardless of if they have brains or skill or hard work? And if you look at through that one lens alone, you can greatly understand a lot of the world and why institutions form, how a lot of old money works. But anyways, if you want to hear more about that, comment down below and I'll make a whole video talking about it. But hopefully you enjoyed this, and if not, bring yourself into the moment. Go out, go for a walk, and settle your mind.